in drug proceeds were also seized on that day. The defendants charged include Devon Price, also known as Big Man, William Bobo, Michael Gam, a.k.a. Mike, Alan Wan, a.k.a. Boogie, Dewan Terry, also known as Wan or Youngster, Ricky Wilburn, and Henry Phillips. Because of the nature of this investigation, the information had been kept under seal until late yesterday. We've unsealed it now and provided it to you. Earlier arrested as part of this investigation were Mose Bell, William Elliott, Corey Gibson, Tracy Hollowell, Derek Motley, Jonathan Talley, and Larry Wood. Those individuals were all charged in, as part of this investigation into gun violence here in the North District. Federal law enforcement must confront the epidemic of gun violence. In 2017, murders, non-fatal shootings, robberies, and carjackings were at all-time highs in this county and in this district. My plan for 2018 calls for stepping up federal prosecution of violent crime, especially and particularly those who possess and use firearms to terrorize our community and this neighborhood. It is imperative that federal law enforcement support our local law enforcement and do all we can to bring relief to our most challenged neighborhoods. In December of 2017, I announced to state, local, and federal law enforcement my plan for reducing violent crime in our most challenged neighborhoods. As part of Attorney General Jeff Sessions' reinvigoration of Project Safe Neighborhoods, we created a crime reduction plan for the most dangerous 6 districts here in Indianapolis. Each of those challenged districts have been assigned an Assistant United States Attorney from my office. That Assistant United States Attorney has one simple mission: use the federal hammer to reduce violent crime in the district where they are assigned. This Project Safe Neighborhoods plan has many more details. We passed it out. You should all have that now. But look, here's the bottom line. Violent criminals don't care if they are committing state or federal crimes. They just hope that they don't get caught with a gun. If they're caught with a gun, they are going to face the federal hammer in this district. And what does the federal hammer mean? It means mandatory minimum sentences. The judge doesn't have a choice. The prosecutor doesn't have a choice. The defense attorney doesn't have a choice. The law dictates, the rule of law dictates that they go to prison on mandatory minimum sentences. It also means detention. Federal detention means no bond. You don't meet your bondsman. The number for your bond is 0. 77% of the people that are charged under a Project Safe Neighborhoods initiative, people charged with gun crimes, with drug crimes, with violent crimes, will be federally detained. That's been the history of this district, and it will be expanded under Project Safe Neighborhoods. Where are these individuals held that don't get a bond when they're arrested? They're sent down to Kentucky. That's where their holding facility is. That means that their friends, their family, their cohorts, their colleagues are not putting money on their books. They're not helping them out. They're not visiting them unless they want to drive all the way down to Kentucky. And what happens when they're convicted? And the bottom line is over 90% of the people charged in federal court are convicted. They are sent to the Bureau of Prison. And usually it's a Bureau of Prisons facility outside the state of Indiana. So when these people are arrested, there is a bottom line. There is no probation. There is no parole. There is no community corrections. There is no home incarceration. There is no halfway house. When they are arrested, they are gone. They are exiled. They are out of this community. They are out of this neighborhood, and they are out of Marion County. They have lost their right to be in this community, and they will be exiled. But that's not all that we're doing. 2 weeks ago, Chief Roach, Chief Bailey, and a deputy prosecutor and I went to Compton, California and Los Angeles, California. I was happy to pick up the tab for that trip. And I don't mean I paid for it out of my pocket. I mean the new administration in Washington at the Department of Justice paid for that trip for all of us to head out there. What we found is in Los Angeles and Compton, California, Los Angeles, a place that had had homicides as high as 1,000, Compton, California, that had triple-digit homicides, had reduced their homicides. Los Angeles is down to 300 for the last 3 years. Huge drops in homicides. And how did they do it? They succeeded in reducing violent crime with the exact same neighborhood approach we are using here. And so it was good to have that show and tell, to take the chief out there, to take the members of the prosecutor's office out there, to see where a plan that we are introducing here in Marion County has worked and has had success. And it's time, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Project Safe Neighborhoods to work here, to work right here in Marion County, and that's my plan. That's what I'm going to do for the next 2 years, from 2018 to 2020. The city of Indianapolis is not too proud to ask for federal help. They are not too proud to ask for my support. And federal law enforcement will go to the neighborhoods and will reduce gun violence. That's exactly what Indianapolis has asked for, and it happened to occur at the exact same time our Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and our administrations under President Trump has asked us to get federal law enforcement officers, to get federal law enforcement AUSAs, to get federal law enforcement out of their offices into the neighborhoods and reduce violent crime. And that is exactly what we plan to do here in Marion County. Now, the reason for our presence out here in North District today is the biggest part, the single biggest part of Project Safe Neighborhoods. The most important part of Project Safe Neighborhoods is accountability. What's happening? What are the results? Is there accountability? Is it working? There are two measurements for accountability. The first is violent crime going down. Are murders going down? Are non-fatal shootings going down? Are robberies with guns going down? I will track that on a monthly basis by police district to determine if those numbers are going down. The other metric, of course, is how many defendants will be charged in federal court as part of the reinvigorated Project Safe Neighborhoods plan. And I have expanded my guidelines, and more defendants than ever will be charged in federal court with crimes of gun violence. That is a plan. And when people hear that, the first thing they think of is mass incarceration. That's not what we're doing here. That is exactly the opposite of what we're doing here. What we are doing here is going where there is the violence, going to the specific neighborhoods where there is the violence, targeting people like this organization, targeting people like the Grundy organization. There is a new way of looking at these things, and we are looking at who is responsible for the gun violence in these communities, and we are going after them. We will, as I said, look at these numbers on a monthly basis. We will share those numbers with all our partners, and we hope that Project Safe Neighborhoods, we know that Project Safe Neighborhoods will foster an attitude of intolerance for gun violence in this community, as it has in so many other places through the country where we've seen it work. Murders, non-fatal shootings, robberies with guns will go down, and it will go down as a result of Project Safe Neighborhoods. The case today that we're here to talk about is focused on violent crime in the North District. This is Operation Little Dipper. That's why we're here. We focused on an armed drug trafficking organization in the Northern District. You all have the criminal complaint, and you can see what's going on in that criminal complaint. An armed drug trafficking organization here in this North District, as alleged in the complaint. Federal law enforcement, as you can see in that criminal complaint, used every single tool in our tool belt. We used controlled buys of guns and drugs. We used wiretaps. We used surveillance. We used search warrants. We spared no expense. We spared no effort. We did everything. Every single case, no matter what the name of the defendant is, no matter where they are, if they contribute to violent crime, they will get absolutely our best effort. Nothing is beneath us in the federal government. This organization, as clearly detailed and as alleged in the complaint, was selling guns and drugs in the North District. This organization, as alleged in the complaint, was armed with drugs. If you look at the complaint, it is littered with photos of these defendants in possession of guns and drugs. The pictures are right there. They speak more than the words. The pictures are right there with these guys. Interesting, on Friday, just this past Friday, the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, was here in this district. He was here in my office, and then he spoke to the federal court and to members of the public gathered there. And he made an interesting observation, which I think is accurate. People talk all the time about violence and violent crime being out of control. I hear it in Marion County. They talk about it like it's the weather. Like, hey, it's sunny today, but it might snow 3 days from now. There's nothing we can do about it. That's absolutely false. Violent crime is not out of control. Organizations just like this one, people that commit violent crimes, people that infest neighborhoods with guns and drugs can be held accountable. That can be controlled. Violent crime can be controlled. And that is why, under Project Safe Neighborhoods, I'm sending AUSAs into the districts. One of those AUSAs is behind me. He's in the back there, Matt Lasher. He's standing behind me, but he's out in the neighborhoods. He's not spending as much time in his office. He's spending more time out here in North District and working with North District to make sure gun violence in this district goes down. We are no longer sitting back in federal court waiting for these challenges to be presented to us. We are now leaving federal court, coming out here to these neighborhoods and addressing violent crime right where it happens. And the case today is certainly an example of what all federal law enforcement partners are doing to support our state and local partners in every police district in this city every day. And I'm hoping that the word gets out. I'm hoping that people start to hear this word of what federal law enforcement is doing. I'm hoping they're getting the word that federal law enforcement is now out in the neighborhoods every day, that the feds are coming to their neighborhoods. I hope they get that word. I know the chief has met with a lot of community leaders, a lot of faith leaders, and has told them that this is coming, that this is here, that we are out here. But if they do not get the word, just like these defendants, they will be exiled from their neighborhoods. And for them, it won't be pretty. So that's sort of the message here. That's why we're here today. I'm happy to be joined by some of my partners. Look, it's no mystery to any of you that I was the first assistant United States attorney for a long time, and the United States attorney was our mayor, Joe Hogshead. And so everything I'm doing in this city, I talk with him about it. The Public Safety Partnership, Indianapolis is one of 7 cities in the United States of America right now that has partnered with the Department of Justice and this administration to get resources and help into this city. Project Safe Neighborhoods, putting federal law enforcement and AUSAs in the neighborhoods. He knows about this, and we have talked to about it. He doesn't send a proxy. He doesn't have somebody else meet with me. The mayor comes and meets with me, and talks with me about this. So it is, it's a unique situation to have a mayor that I know so well as a partner. So I'm happy to introduce your mayor, Indianapolis, Mayor Joe Hogshead.
Thank you, Josh. I know you're not used to this, but I'm inclined to just simply say ditto. I do very much appreciate the United States Attorney's commitment to helping local law enforcement in this endeavor. And Josh has stated their message very well, and I really can't add to it other than to say that I do think that we can turn the corner here in the city of Indianapolis in the area of guns and drugs with our federal partners, working closely with state and local. You know, we look at law enforcement both horizontally, which means how well does IMPD and the Marion County Sheriff's Office work with Lawrence and Beech Grove and other law enforcement agencies throughout the city. That's a horizontal view, but what the United States Attorney's Office and all federal partners are announcing today, that with Project Safe Neighborhood, we truly will now be addressing these neighborhood challenges vertically, so that federal, state, and local law enforcement will work together in ways that perhaps we've not done before. And I think that's a win-win for the people of the city of Indianapolis, who care desperately for peace in our streets and safer neighborhoods. So I welcome this commitment by my former federal family, who I had the great honor of serving with, but now am able to partner with. So thanks to United States Attorney Josh Minkler, thanks to the United States Attorney's Office, thanks to the federal law enforcement agencies, the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, and all others who will be involved in this effort. We will make a difference for a safer Indianapolis. Thank you, Mr. United States Attorney. And I believe I'd like to ask IMPD Chief Brian Roach to say a few words on behalf of his department. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Josh. I just want to express our gratefulness as a police department for our federal partners. You know, we've been talking about this and talking about this and talking about this. We sit in the same room. We do it every 2 weeks, and we talk about people and we talk about places. And you get on that list because you commit violence. This is very targeted. Gone are the days where we go into a neighborhood and we swoop everybody up. This is very targeted. So I think the message was clear here this morning. Those of you that are involved in violence, you've heard what that message is. We know who you are, and we're coming. And we're bringing everything to bear. We're so appreciative of the U.S. Attorney's Office, the DEA, the FBI, ATF, and the Marion County Prosecutor's Office. The result of this investigation is going to have both federal and local indictments, and without all their help, we wouldn't be able to do this. But I'd also like to say there's probably people out there that are looking that may be involved in violence and are trying to get out of it. We have some great community partners, and all of them are stepping forward. Please find them. If you need help finding them, let us know, and we'll direct you that way. But there are other avenues. This city has been put on the map for the wrong reasons by a select few people, and it's those select few people that we're going after. And I can't express enough for you to understand that not many cities have this type of a relationship. A lot of people talk about it, we've talked about it, but I think today you've seen the impact of sitting in a room and talking about people that are committing violence here in Indianapolis. So appreciative. I also have to thank all the men and women of the North District and all of our specialty units that worked hand in hand with, that you never see back here, but truly, along with the special agents of our federal partners and the state police, really had an impact on this community. So thank you, and I think our ATF, Roland, is here to give some remarks.
Good morning. My name is Roland Herndon. I am the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. This is a good day. This is a day that law enforcement works together in partnership with the community in Project Safe Neighborhood. We are still going to continue to work with Project Safe Neighborhood to bring those to justice who are using firearms in the community to hurt others. I've gone to meetings, community meetings with the chief and others, and I have to say to the community, to those mothers who have lost children, we hear you. We are working for you. To the community who called and gave us information, thank you. But continue to make those phone calls. We cannot do this type of work without the community assistance. We will continue to do this, and we will work hard. I would like to say also, thank you to the task force officers and our partnership with the Indianapolis Police Department. They do a great job. You should be very proud of your law enforcement in this area. We will continue to work together to bring those to justice that bring harm to the community. Pat will give you a little bit more information. Pat Hand is a group supervisor of ATF that's on the street with his men and women.
Good morning. So in May of 2017, my office was asked to partner with IMPD North District, specifically the Flex Unit and the narcotics detectives up here in North, to target an organization that was responsible for a large amount of violence and gun violence up here on the north side of Indianapolis. During the course of this investigation, as the U.S. Attorney alluded to, we used a multitude of investigative techniques to strategically investigate this organization. That led to, as you see, 14 federal defendants. In addition to that, we have 56 state arrests that were made during the course of the investigation, and we recovered or purchased 45 firearms during the course of the investigation. There's also been a quantity of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and marijuana that was recovered during the investigation. I would like to commend the detectives from the North District Narcotics Unit, the Flex officers, and the ATF agents and task force officers that worked relentlessly on this investigation. I'd also like to recognize DEA, Marion County Sheriff's Office, ISP, and the Marion County Prosecutor's Office for their support in this investigation. Thank you.
Greg Westfall from the DEA ASOP.
Good morning. Greg Westfall with the Drug Enforcement Administration. You know, the DEA is dedicated to attacking violent crime problem where it's best suited to do so. It's by targeting the nexus of cartels and gangs and by routinely supporting other agencies' requests for violent crime assistance. I'm proud to stand here today, shoulder to shoulder, with my law enforcement partners. There's nothing better than to know that you have an army of one behind you when you're trying to do your job. And I'm also proud to know that there's the men and women of all law enforcement here in the Indianapolis metropolitan area that want to stand with us and make it for a better community here in Indianapolis. You know, drug and gun violence cause senseless deaths. We've heard about it, and it leaves way too many families asking, why us? Know that every day, law enforcement is out doing what we're sworn to do. So the message after today, you've heard it numerous times, should be very clear. If you are a criminal or a criminal organization contributing to the violence through drug trafficking or other crimes of violence, we, law enforcement, will investigate and bring you to justice. In closing, I ask all of you to join us, and together we will succeed. Thank you very much, and thank you to the partners.
Thank you, Greg. I'm happy to say in both our learning tours that we took to Los Angeles and Compton, we were joined not only by the Chief of Police and a Deputy Chief of Police, but also by the Marion County Prosecutor's Office. The Marion County Prosecutor's Office was with us, and they have been with us from day one of this case. So a Deputy Prosecutor worked right alongside the United States Attorney's Office at all stages in Operation Little Dipper, and has worked alongside us in all stages of the implementation of Project Safe Neighborhoods, particularly here, not just here in North District, but in every district in this city. The cooperation and support of Terry Curry and his office is absolutely necessary. This won't work without the Marion County Prosecutor's Office and the United States Attorney's Office working together. I'm fortunate to have been working as a prosecutor in this community since 1994, and I'm fortunate to have credibility with the Marion County Prosecutor's Office. I'm fortunate to know the people over there well and know their abilities, and I'm even more fortunate to have their partnership. And so I'm happy to have the Chief Deputy Prosecutor, Ryan Mears, here with us today. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. U.S. Attorney. Once again, my name is Ryan Mears, and I'm the Chief Trial Deputy at the Marion County Prosecutor's Office. And I just want to start off by saying, you know, all of us who prosecute cases, we are dependent upon law enforcement to provide us with those cases. And I think this investigation clearly demonstrates the high level of quality that our federal partners and IMPD consistently provide to the U.S. Attorney's Office and to the Marion County Prosecutor's Office. And I think it's important to recognize their effort in regard to this case and the outstanding job they did in putting this investigation together. One of the most important things that comes out of these types of investigations and these partnerships is these are proactive investigations, meaning that we're not waiting for something to occur. We're aggressively going out there to confront some of these violent issues. And this particular investigation represents a sustained commitment from IMPD, from our federal partners, from the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Marion County Prosecutor's Office to prosecute those individuals who are committing violent acts and violent crimes here in Marion County. We resolve a number of cases, a high number of cases here in Marion County. One of the most important factors that we consider is whether or not a particular individual has a connection or a nexus to violence. And I can tell you that all of the people that we are prosecuting as a result of this investigation have a high level, or have a pretty significant connection to those violent acts. And we think as a result of this investigation, we've made North District a safer place, and we've made Marion County a safer place. This is an evolving relationship. This is a relationship that we look to continue to build on, and we're grateful for everyone's willingness to come together, and we're happy to play our role in a part of these investigations in this process. Thank you.
The district commander in North District is Josh Barker, and he can speak to the impact a case like this has in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Commander Josh Barker with IMPD North District. I want to, if I can, just offer a little bit of insight into the importance that this case plays into the community's well-being on North District. I've had an opportunity to watch this case kind of grow out, believe it or not, going back as far as several years. And what I think is unique about this case was the officers that worked it, as mentioned before me, in a proactive manner. They started out as the beat and zone cars that worked these specific targeted areas that had a high nexus to violent crime. And it was those officers' collective information that drove the intelligence that made an investigation at this level possible. Through the successes of those initial investigations into some of these specific people, places, and activities, they were able to move on to assignments such as our flex team and narcotics team. And I echo the sentiments before me that this was very unique to watch local law enforcement, state partners, and our federal resources gel very well together. And that all culminated in a great day Friday. The people associated with this group from day one has been a group whose primary goal is violence, and they happen to dabble in narcotics trafficking. Not a narcotics trafficking organization that used violence to push that product. It was the opposite. This is a violence group from day one. They use narcotics trafficking to push that agenda down into these neighborhoods and continue to perpetrate that violence. You've heard the numbers said before me. Every one of those illegally possessed firearms that was seized was an opportunity for a non-fatal shooting or a homicide. And several of the members of this organization have direct ties to non-fatal shootings and homicides that have occurred throughout North District and throughout the rest of the city. So the flex officers, the narcotics officers, all of our federal partners, both with the investigation and the prosecutorial side, should be commended for this. This is a great opportunity now for me to take these results and report back to our community. And as a matter of fact, the timing works very well. I have a Community Resource District Council meeting tonight that I'll be talking to my North District contacts. And I haven't been able to talk about this case because of the nature of it, but this is a great opportunity to report back some of those results. And I echo what was said before. This should serve as a clear and unified message that the people, places, and activities that are leading to a disproportionate amount of crime in Indianapolis will be targeted. We will pull out all resources available to address those issues and bring those people who think that behavior is acceptable to justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Also with us here is Assistant United States Attorney Matt Lasher. Matt's right back there. Matt is the Assistant United States Attorney that has been assigned to North District. So Matt gets a performance rating and appraisal like probably most of you all do on your jobs, and his performance appraisal, part of it is what is the violent crime rate in North District where you've been assigned. So he has to take ownership of this district. He has to come up with real solutions to reduce it. That's different than what we did before, and that's part of Project Safe Neighborhoods. I also want to echo something that Chief Roach said, which I think is very helpful. and he's been pushing this message out for me, and that is for these individuals that have guns, that are thinking about getting involved in these violent organizations. There's a lot of help in the community. There are people you can turn to get out of these organizations, but the message is clear. If that file ends up on my desk, it's too late. There are no alternatives. It's a mandatory minimum sentence. Off you go to federal prison. You're out of this community for 10, 15, 20 years, maybe the rest of your life. That's how we do things in the federal system. So I just wanted everybody to understand that the consequences are a little bit different. I would, again, urge people to take the chief up on his advice, to look out for members of the community that might help them, many of these community service organizations that can help them not get involved or get out of these violent organizations. The file gets on my desk, it's too late. There's nothing that can be done. Questions?
Yes, could you tell us how you came up with the term Little Dipper and also talk about stupid stars?
Yeah, well, you might have figured it out. There was a rap group organization that posted their YouTube videos. I think they called themselves Stupid Stars Entertainment. Members of this criminal organization also do that, and so that was why we called it Operation Little Dipper, which is a play on the constellations.
How did this investigation start in the first place? Did you get a tip?
We have received community tips, but we used, as you could probably tell, all law enforcement resources that were available to us. You can see it. We ran the gamut. Every federal tool that we have in our tool belt was used on this organization. So many of these cases start with a tip, but the advantage of using federal wiretaps and some of the techniques we use that helps protect civilian witnesses. As you may or may not know, the federal system, we have a grand jury. That's how we charge cases. So grand jury proceedings are secret. You don't know who testifies. You don't know what they say. There are reasons for that. One of those reasons is to protect witnesses and allow them to come forward and tell what's going on in their community without the concern that criminal defendants will find out who testified against them. But we take the tips, we try to keep them anonymously, and then we try to use what law enforcement techniques are described in the complaint as here. But there was nothing subtle about the way these individuals were operating in this community. Look, if you live in this community, if you live in the North District, you can look on the street corner and you can see what's going on. And you know there are guys with drugs, there are guys with drugs and guns, and what the community has to realize is there's accountability, there's consequences. Those guys get taken off the street and you don't see them again the next day. If you see them again the next day and you're a member of the community, you're wondering what's going on. Is law enforcement complicit in this problem? Now they understand if this guy's on the corner with a gun and a drug and I see it and I tell them out they go and I don't see them again. That's a real important part of accountability for Project Safe Neighborhoods, is that the community understand that there is real accountability, that these people they don't see again unless they're still in the neighborhood 15, 20, 30 years from then. But that's what this is all about. They're not going to see him in community corrections. They're not going to see him back on the street corner. They're not going to see him on house arrest or on probation. They're in federal prison. They don't see him anymore. That's what this is about.
You've already revealed the fact that how you took this group down with some of the investigative techniques. For other groups that are doing the same thing in our city, we know these are not the only ones. Should they be paranoid that they're under surveillance, that they're being watched?
Paranoid. That's an interesting word. They should be warned. Project Safe Neighborhoods means what it says. We're going to do what we said we were going to do. We are going to reduce violent crime by charging more violent criminals, period. We will use every single tool in our tool belt to do it. If it takes undercover buys, if it takes search warrants, if it takes surveillance, if it takes a wiretap, whatever it takes, no case is beneath us. No case is unworthy of our best efforts. We will take these people down and we will use everything we've got to do it.
You talked about metrics that are being used
to
measure performance for you internally and accountability internally.
Could you talk a little bit more about what you hope to achieve when you measure those things like murders and armed robberies?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the metrics we are using by district are the number of murders, the number of non-fatal shootings, the number of robberies. The metrics we want to see is those numbers go down. Hopefully, those will go down in conjunction with us targeting, is this group behind me, targeting the right groups, the groups and individuals that have caused violence in the community. So that's why we're out here in the neighborhoods instead of up at the U.S. Attorney's Office, because we think that information is probably most accurately provided down here. The guys that are driving on the street in the patrol cars every day, they know who the violent people are. The people in these communities, they know who the guys are the women are that are causing these violence. And then we can target them in a very targeted, almost laser-like approach, Ryan. So when I think about it, I try to visualize a laser. We're focused on the individuals that are really committing the violence. And then we figure out some charge, some federal charge, methamphetamine, immigration, drugs, taxes, I don't care. Out they go. They're out of the neighborhood. The violent criminals are not here. They're exiled. They're in federal prison. That's going to bring those numbers down. And we're going to look at those numbers on a monthly basis. It's a 2-year plan. I mean, for 2 years we're going to do this. But we're going to look at those numbers on a monthly basis. And if we see one of the neighborhoods that where crime is going up, where those numbers are going up, then we can move our resources and focus more of our federal resources on that neighborhood. So the reason I'm keeping these metrics is not just to determine how much I pay Matt Lasher at the end of the year. The reason I'm keeping these metrics is so I can determine where we move our resources to reduce violent crime in this community.
These 14 individuals have been charged with federal crimes, gun crimes, drug crimes. Are you able now to connect them to murderers, attempted murders, etc. in Marion County?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it is part of what another thing we are doing in this community, which I didn't think I'd have a chance to talk about, but since you asked, now I'm going to talk about it. What the Marion County prosecutors, ATF, the U.S. attorneys, IMPD, and the Marion County Crime Lab are doing is creating what we're going to call a crime gun intelligence center. I don't know what we're going to call it yet, but I can describe it for you. We have a piece of equipment which nationally will trace all ballistic evidence. So a gun round will be submitted to this. It's called a NIBIN system, N-I-B-I-N. We submit those rounds and seized firearms into that system. What that system will identify for us is shooters, trigger pullers. Obviously, if you're a shooter or a trigger puller, you get under the laser that I just talked about for Ryan. What we know about trigger pullers, what law enforcement knows about trigger pullers, is they keep pulling the trigger until they get murdered or they murder somebody and get locked up. So that's why we're going to prioritize the trigger pullers. So the ballistics evidence that we've seized, and we've seized a lot of it, it'll take a while to go through that, will be submitted, and we will identify in this organization and other organizations the trigger pullers, and hopefully that can lead to some of these unsolved cases. Does that help you?
Yeah.
All right.
Folks, thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, good one right there. Yep. That's what it was.
Although, preempted that a little bit, which I was going to ask you about. One of